If you live in Cleveland or Milwaukee or places where not necessarily the best real estate markets, you may want to consider investing where there's better returns. And by you cutting the umbilical cord to your geographic area, you literally open up the country or the world for that matter.
Welcome to the Going Long Podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. I am your host, Billy Keels, and I am really looking forward to sharing today's conversation with you because you are going to get a lot out of it, especially if you are a high-paid professional that is in the medical career or any type of professional services career. But today we have a cardiologist who's going to talk about what life is like when you can put your whole heart into long distance investing. So, but here's the thing. We continue to move up the charts, and really thanks to you. You continue to share the episodes. You continue to have conversations with other friends and family members about the conversations that you're hearing and the tactics and the strategies that you're learning. And we really appreciate that. And we're also seeing that as the podcast continues to move up the charts. And if you haven't, one of the main reasons that we're able to do that is because you continue to also leave your honest written reviews as well as ratings. If you have not done that, especially if you're on the Apple Podcast platform, we made a couple of videos, or one video, very, very easy to follow video. Just go to the video, you can click the link and be able to leave your honest written review as well as a rating. Really would appreciate that from you. And then also too, a number of you have been asking about how you can find the previous episodes, like right when we first started and you want to binge watch or you want to binge listen to every single one of the episodes, you can't find them on the platforms. Just go to billykeels.com. When you're at billykeels.com, go to the podcast tab. There, just click and you can find every single episode ever released. Once again, go to billykeels.com. Once you're there, go to the podcast tab and you can find every single episode. And lastly, a number of you are accredited investors. Many of you are accredited investors, I guess I should say, and you're interested in finding out more about what we're doing here. You want to connect with other accredited investors, find out about investment opportunities, things like that. What I'm going to say is what you need to do is send me an email and send that to aiclub@billykeels.com. Once again, send it to aiclub@billykeels.com. I'll get the email. You and I'll have a conversation and we'll see about getting you onboarded. So that is going to be fantastic. And as it relates to today's conversation, busy professionals, especially medical professionals, like this is one that you're really going to relate to because today's guest is a cardiologist. He's going to talk to us about what it was like growing up. I mean, he was born in India, came to the United States. Father was an engineer. He knew he had to become either an engineer or a doctor or kind of be a failure is what the way he explains it to us. He's focused on today not just being able to, continue to earn more capital. He's really helping people to find the different 5 freedoms that they're looking for. He's really focused on the 3 Ps, the bottom line of the 3 Ps, people, the planet, and profit as well. He's going to talk to you about what it was like to be able to transition from this high-paid professional career, highly regarded, and also be able to create more life stability, have more control over his time, more control over his finances, more control over his geographical location, minimizing the stress in his life, and also having control over the vital portion of his life. So I know you're going to get a lot out of today's conversation that we're going to have with Dr. Vikram Raya, and that's going to be coming up just after this. Are you looking for a way to get to long-distance investing success, but not spending all the effort? You want to do it in a way that's much faster and it doesn't cause as much pain? Well, listen, I can save you all of that stress. Just go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes and you can pick up your free PDF to help you on your road to long-distance investing success. So if you want to find out about the freedoms you can receive when you give your heart to long-distance real estate investing, then guess what? Today's the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why you're going to want to listen to the last word? Well, because today's guest is not only a trained cardiologist and functional medicine physician. Yes, I did say trained cardiologist. He also got into the real estate investing space in 2015. You know what? He's also an international speaker. He's a high performance coach, and he is also, as I mentioned before, a real estate investor. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the founding partner and CEO of Viking Capital Investment, Dr. Vikram Raya. Dr. Vikram, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Billy, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm enjoying it. Love your energy. I love your story. And I know that the Going Long family is going to learn so much with you today. And so I want to jump right into it, man, because we got so much to learn with you today. As you know, you're going to get 5 questions. You're going to get 2 in the beginning. You're going to get 3 in the end. And in the middle, I have absolutely no idea what questions I'm going to ask you, but I do know that they're going to be answers, that you're going to give us answers that are really going to help the Going Long family. So let's get started, man. First and foremost, I'd love for you to tell us, where do you live in the United States?
I live in Northern Virginia. I live in right outside of DC, in an area called Fairfax, Tyson's Corner.
Fantastic. All right. I think most people know where that is, over on the right-hand side of the United States, over near the nation's capital. So fantastic. Appreciate that. And then tell us, what is the most positive thing that has happened to you in the last 24 hours?
A lot of stuff, man. Just amazing to spend time with my family during the holidays. We had everyone over. That was awesome. Just crushed a workout this morning when I didn't feel like it, which I love always doing, sticking to your routine regardless. Yep. And I made a declaration the other day, no beer for a year, or no alcohol for a year, which, I don't drink that much, but I do, occasionally have fun, things with my friends. But it was that declaration just to go, okay, look, letting go alcohol, let's make that the ultimate biohack, which, since I'm the doctor of biohacking and human optimization, I'm like, what else can I do to take my life to that next level? So I was like, it's a mindset thing. It's a challenge thing. And so boom, I'm in it to win it.
All right, man. No beer for a year. Love that. Well, I just said not just beer, but no alcohol for a year. Yeah. So all the best with that, and a nice biohack. So I'm sure you're going to tell us a little bit more about that, because at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's a lot of it is about mindset, and how do we get out of our own way, or really get ourselves focused on the things that are the most important to us, so that we can ultimately have and live the lifestyle that we really want to lead. So here's the thing, Vikram. So I give myself this really impossible task. I try to tell your entire backstory in 3.5 seconds. It's impossible. You've done way too many things. You've impacted way too many lives. And so what I would love for you to do, please, is share with the Going Long family your own backstory in your own words. The one thing I would ask you, though, is if you could also highlight a couple of the major decision points that you've made to get to this point in your journey. And then we'll just kind of see where the conversation goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. A kid born in India, South India, Bangalore, brought here when I was 2. Dad was an engineer, and we moved around a lot because he would build nuclear power plants, and so we'd go from one city to another. So I think I lived in 8 states in my elementary school, and it was similar to a military brat, but more of another field. But I had to learn to make friends. I had to learn to adapt to different situations. And I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, which I think has served me nicely as I've grown. But I knew there was always something greater for me. But the fact that it didn't manifest in my earlier years just made me sort of have a chip on my shoulder. And I just hustled, because I knew that, look, there's most people around me. I had this story in my head that most people around me are a lot more talented. So I just had to just give horsepower instead. So willpower always trumps skill power, I say. Mm-hmm. I got into a reasonable college. In the Indian culture, it's a lawyer, engineer, or loser. And I was like, all right, let's go for a doctor or something like that. And I did the medicine thing, and initially I did it just because I was told to do it, or that's the right path to be on. But then I sort of fell in love with it because I liked, understanding the science behind how things work and how to optimize myself. And then I had 6 people in my family die of heart attacks, and I was like, all right, I need to study this even deeper, specifically cardiology. And my father even collapsed in front of me, at my son's first birthday. So I was like, man, I got to study this. And so it was my dream, right, to become a cardiologist. And the interesting thing was I worked so hard. And when I got there, I was like, well, is this all there is? It was interesting. It was great. But I noticed that people were doing it not for the sake of the patients, but for the sake for the paycheck, and then I just felt that the business of medicine trumped the love of medicine. And I was like, you know what? Robert Kiyosaki says, don't be, the left side of the quadrant, go on the right side of the quadrant and then do what you love. And so I was like, all right, well, let me practice the medicine the way I want, but let me make sure my income is not tied to how I practice. Mm-hmm. So I just tried doing things. I tried options trading, didn't work out. I tried other things. And then finally I landed on real estate and I was like, oh, this makes sense. I actually can figure it out. No one has to explain it to me. And, I while I was practicing, did this as a side hustle from 2012 to 2015, got a portfolio about 30 homes, fix and flips with my father. And then I was like, I'm always about, how do I take it to the next level, right? And I think, Billy, you are too. You're like, how do we scale this thing, right? So LGS, leverage, growth, and scale. That's sort of been part of my DNA, right? Yeah. And I'm allergic to stagnation, right? Even though things are going well, like my life was great as a cardiologist, earning a strong 6-figure salary, respected, had time, some time with my family and friends and, could afford some nice vacations and things like that. But I was like, dude, there's more in me than that. Yeah. And I think, Billy, what I've noticed is most people around us, I would say 95% to 98% of the people, they peak in their 20s or 30s. And then they coast for the next 3 or 4 decades and then they die. And they live a good life. They go on some vacations. They've raised some good children, but they're not going to be remembered in 200 years, right? Yeah. It was a good life, but not a great life. And that's not good enough for me. So I wanted to have a great life. I want to have a legendary life. I want to be epic, not for other people, but for myself, because I knew there's more to be, do, and have. And so I chose that, all right, while I'm doing this, I want to study functional medicine because I want to practice medicine the way I want. While I'm doing this, I want to learn multifamily. And then someone told me about syndications. I was like, wow, what a brilliant concept. Let me do that. And man, my life now is evolved to where I'm achieving what I call the 5 freedoms, which we can get into a little bit later. Yep. I'm living what I call a hell yes versus a hell no lifestyle. And I'm doing things that are humanity positive. They're helping the greater good. They're helping myself. They're helping my family and, and the future generations. I'm at a point where I'm at peace, but I'm what we call blissfully dissatisfied.
Blissfully dissatisfied. I love that, man. That is, there's so many nuggets that you've just left with us, right? And also too, just with me, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but just as a cardiologist, I recognize, because also my father has had issues with his heart, and a lot of the Go Along family knows that as well. And so understanding that you have the dedication of your time and your energy to have a profession where you literally can save lives and help people to be on the right track is something that is absolutely commendable. At the same time, you mentioned something. I have 2 of my best friends are cardiologists as well. And there's a lot of talk that is really the love of the science. And then you talked about the business of medicine. And this is something that comes up a lot. And I'm just curious because a lot of people, Vikram would say, man, as a cardiologist, as a doctor, everybody aspires to that. Like, that's where you really want to be. Like, why would you ever even look to do anything else? And what maybe part of the business of medicine had an influence on that?
I realize I've become officially unemployable. I think the longer you become an entrepreneur, you realize you just can't work for anybody else. And so I've always been sort of a rebel. I go against the grain. I'm a contrarian. And that's highlighted by getting, in the Texas school system, in the elementary schools in the late 80s, early 90s, they allowed paddling, meaning taking you to the principal's office and getting a spanking by the principal. And so that was me talking out of turn, talking in class, talking and then getting suspended in middle school for getting into a ruckus of some sort in band camp. And then it's I went to undergrad and I'm supposed to major in biology, but I just can't major in just one thing. And so I did a minor in economics, a minor in South Asian studies. And it's I just love too many things in life. I'm passionate and I don't want to be pigeonholed into one box. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I'm okay to be quote unquote messy. I'm good at many things. I can do a lot of things, but here's the thing that I want to leave with everyone. Everything you touch can probably turn to gold. The problem is you have to touch it long enough. So what I say is do sequential greatness versus simultaneous greatness. Sequential greatness is master one thing, do it well, get a certain level of expertise in it. And when it becomes sort of automaticity or automated, then you're allowed to then pursue another side passion or hustle, and then master that and then optimize that and then add another one. What most people do is either they're not very good at anything at all, or they are not fully good at one thing and they already grab another thing, and then neither one is either it's a mediocre success on both, or it's below average at best.
Yeah, the proverbial jack of all trades and master of none. I absolutely know what you're talking about. And actually, and so if you're not watching the video version, you should probably, when Vikram was talking about being paddled in the Texas school system, I also grew up in Houston, Texas, and I remember actually standing in front of the class because I did something I wasn't supposed to, and I had to hold on to the desk, and I literally got swatted in front of the entire class. It was one of those kind of things that sticks with you. So you had to kind of grow up in Texas school system. I was in the Houston school system, Houston Independent School District. So so that definitely is what you just took me back, way back.
That's right.
So one of the other things, and you mentioned where you were, like near the nation's capital. One of the things that everybody here, right? You are definitely amongst friends and family when you talk about being contrarian. I have, as everyone here knows, I've been living in Europe for the last 20 years. For the last, better part of 8.5 years, I've been living here and investing exclusively in the United States, which some people would say, well, hang on a second, all the books say you need to live in the same place. Now, we didn't even go into the thousands of different doors that you've partnered with and become a part of, but I'm always just curious, like, for someone like yourself, because I happen to know this already, when you decided to invest beyond your backyard, meaning like you weren't the typical landlord that was just exclusively, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but when you decided to go beyond your backyard and say, hey, listen, you know what? I actually want to invest long distance or remotely, or however you want to call it, actively or passively. I would love for you to share with the Going Long family, what was it in you, aside from being a contrarian, that really gave you the validation to say, you know what, it's okay to invest beyond my backyard, and I can do this in a way that's going to actually allow me to get to my life goals?
So, creating the second side hustle, which was real estate, I didn't even have enough money to invest passively. So I had to invest actively, in the sense that, and also my wife gave another stipulation. You're not allowed to use your own, our hard-earned money to buy real estate. If you want to do this crazy thing called real estate, then you do it with other means. And so I had to beg, borrow, steal, come up with creative financing ways. And I tried to do it in my backyard. I just found that I didn't have any boots on the ground in my own backyard, because I'm literally working 60 to 80 hours a week and I don't have anyone else. So my father happened to be in Atlanta, which is a great real estate market, and the houses were a lot more affordable in 2012. So we started investing and doing that. And then I also know Atlanta because I went to Emory for undergrad, and I went there, and I used to live there. And so I know that Atlanta, even though it was away from me, it was not away from me. So I felt like that was a good place to get started. And then when I moved on to multifamily, it happened to be in Atlanta as well. And so I felt comfortable with that city, even though I was remote. And you can invest remotely, virtually, because if you just hope that the opportunities, because if you live in Cleveland or Milwaukee or places where not necessarily the best real estate markets, you may want to consider investing where there's better returns. And by you cutting the umbilical cord to your geographic area, you literally open up the country, or the world for that matter. And so the best way is, first, if you have the means, invest passively, I would say, and then feel comfortable with that. And then go fly down there, go do all the due diligence the first or twice. But then after that, you're like, you know what? I can buy something remotely and, not even look at it, because I have a team who's down there who can really, vet it for me. And as long as the numbers make sense, overall, you're going to be fine. And so I would say most real estate is bought outside of the local jurisdiction. So transitioning, and the reason why I transitioned from single family to multifamily and was for scale, right? I can only buy a certain number of units, and the banks, though they give me money, it's not their highest priority. When I tell them I want to buy 100 unit, man, they line up the doors. They're ready to go. So it's interesting. And at this point now, I find it easier to buy a 400 unit than to buy a 4 unit.
Yep.
And so, we bought our biggest deal called Main Street in Indiana near Notre Dame in the summer. It was like a $76 million deal, 400 unit. And man, that was one of the easiest transactions I've ever done. Like the capital was there. People wanted to get in the deal. Like it was just, and so we're careful in where we buy, and we use certain metrics and parameters like net migration and population and growth metrics, as well as diverse employments. We don't want just an army base there. We want a very diverse employment pool. And then, you have a team, you do thorough due diligence, and then you assess the property. And if it goes through all these filters, it makes sense. You tour it, but then when you buy it, you have a team in place. And so what I've realized is your team is more important than the location.
Wow. You know what? I want to drop the mic. Boom. The team is more important than the location. Because one of the things that we talk about here constantly is, listen, understand what benefit you're looking to derive. After you understand that benefit, go to the location, as you talked about, that's going to give you the highest probability of achieving that goal. Once you're in the location, then the most crucial point, and I absolutely agree with you, is the team. Building that team, getting the right team that understands the location and helps you get to the benefit that you're looking for afterwards, whether it's a 400 unit apartment building, an 87 unit apartment building, or a 200 unit apartment building. Well, those 4 things are in alignment. So you're going to have a much higher probability of getting the actual benefit that you were looking to get in the very beginning. Wow, don't you just love this conversation? This is amazing. This is fantastic. And so just really quickly, I just wanted to remind you, for those of you that are looking to create more options for yourself, get there faster, and do that with long distance investing, make sure that you go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid, so that you can avoid all those mistakes, get to your goals faster and sooner. Once again, that's billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. Now back to the conversation. One of the things that you said before, and I think this was really important, because there are a lot of high paid professionals that are here, super busy, working the 60, 80 hours a week, constantly busy. But my story is very similar. I didn't even know that you could invest passively with other people. I was like living in Barcelona, buying these properties, smaller multifamily properties, and managing them from Barcelona. So I'm just curious also too, maybe you could share with us, because I know that you work with a lot of very busy professionals today. Like what do you find is the thing that typically keeps someone who's in a very busy professional role from actually taking the path to investing passively first versus investing actively?
Lack of knowledge, and they also think they get so comfortable with their high income that they don't look at the long game. So and they also think once their high income is there, that it insulates them from any economic fluctuations, which is COVID has proven that is totally not true. And then they think that there's no choice. Like they have to put in the hours to get the money. That's how it works. That's how they've been trained. And it's literally like they have to really shed some light on what they're doing, their whole processes, and that quadrant mentality, they don't have it yet. They think this is it. There's only one way to do things. And they think also investing in these things is risky. But they are the people who are risky. It's the investor who's risky. It's not the investment, as Kiyosaki says. So it's almost like you have to show them like a whole new world, a whole new world of invest. Like no one knows about like all these things, ATMs and energy plays like you're doing, and multifamily and self-storage and all these things is like they've heard, oh yeah, my friend did that, he lost money, and then there's no, let me dig into the story, let me figure out what happened and understand. In the 80s, these doctors, they bought some apartments and they lost they lost their shirts. Yeah, they did it the mom and pop way. They went ghetto, they didn't hire a team, they wanted to save money, they bought not following principles, so it's really, these anecdotal stories, this fear, lack of knowledge, ignorance, and then comfort. I think people are too damn comfortable.
Yeah,
because they don't realize that they can have their cake and eat it too, if they chose to. And it's people always have the either or mentality, Billy, instead of the and both mentality. I always take both. I want all of it. I want the whole left side of the menu. Let's go.
I love it. I could feel that coming on. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I think he's getting ready to say it. He's getting ready to say it. And I talk about it all the time. It's the power of and, because it's not about do you do this or you do that. It's about how can you do this and that. I also love the fact that you are really helping us to understand that a lot of times it's just a lack of exposure. It's a lack of education. Key word that you talked about is ignorance, meaning lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. And so being able to help people to understand that. And I know that you spend a lot of time doing that now. And I do want to get to the five freedoms that you talked about. But there's two kind of things that have also just kind of jumped out at me, especially when being a medical professional. Because a lot of time, and I come from a sales background, so we've got a lot of salespeople, but I'm just really curious, like from the medical profession and being able to diagnose someone, right? I talked about earlier, like different heart diseases and things like that. How has that professional training, how does that help you today when you're really looking to help people to diagnose their specific issues and help them to get to a path of being able to generate more passive income, or that income that's decoupled from the amount of time that they're putting in?
Yeah, great question, Billy. I think it's two things. One, I'm a meta learner. I figure out how to learn, and I learn very quickly. And so I absorb information like in tremendous amounts. I mean, I'm approaching probably 300 books on Audible right now. I'm just in a voracious learner. And, there's talk about 6 human needs, right? The number one need is certainty, which we all probably overdo. And then the need for variety, need for love and connection, need for significance. Those are sort of the basic needs. The two needs that your 1%ers who are listening to the podcast, I'm sure, are really focusing on, and who most of the world is not focusing on, is growth and contribution, right? And so being an insatiable learner, growing, and then not only, the interesting thing about me is a lot of people read, not a lot of people, but a certain percentage do read, but very few people take that information and do anything with it. Knowledge for knowledge's sake is foolish. Knowledge that leads to action is true wisdom. And so I take things, and then also people stake claims of what they're going to do, or declare things, or make goals or vision boards, but they rarely do anything with those things. They don't actually manifest. And so I would say 80% of things I dream and vision, I manifest. And it's because I make a must and everyone else makes them shoulds, right? And this is not something I was born with. This is something I had to create. Why? Because I felt everyone around me was better than me. I felt everyone around me was smarter than me. Everyone was richer than me, And, parents grew up middle class, and they fought about money a lot. And I think subconsciously that affected me as a child. Like, I knew that I wanted to be completely abundant. I felt like, oh, we have to clip coupons. Oh, we have to save. Oh, we can't afford that dinner. We can't afford that clothes. We can't afford those toys. I didn't want to have that vocabulary in my DNA. And so like recently Viking I got to share this with you since it just came in the mail today.
That means everybody come once again. If you're not watching the video version, you're gonna have to check this out, because he's gonna show us something cool. Show us.
So Viking Capital, our company, multifamily company, we have almost $650 million of assets we've acquired, approaching 5,000 doors. We're launching a $100 million Viking Wealth Fund 1 in 2 weeks. And we're in like 9, or we're currently in like 6 submarkets. We're about to go to 9 submarkets. But we give back too. Like, we really believe in the triple bottom line. Like, people plan a profit, right? So we help our investors. We help the communities we invest in. We help the planet, because we do green energy projects. We do water saving devices. We do solar if we can. We do, we even give energy back to the grid from our projects back to the grid, and all that stuff. And then, profit, we take care of, our investors always do well. We try to 2x their returns. We try to make sure they get their tax benefits, but then we give back to the greater good. And so one of the things we've done is we built a school in Bangladesh, and they mailed us this plaque because the school's opening up now, and it's in a village where there's no school, and it's called the Somerset School. And so they sent us this plaque. If you can see that.
Wow, here. Fantastic. Yeah. Well done. So, man. Well done.
Like, it's cool, man. It's just like you can do it all. Like, and on top of that, like I'm coaching doctors and other high performers all over the country. and I have a company called Limitless MD where I do that, where it's fun. Like I'm helping them, like, go to that next level, either pivot out of medicine or add income on top of their medical income, or just figure out, how to 10x their life or go to that next level of life. And, on top of that, and then I have a clinic where I've kept on evolving the clinic, cardiology, then functional medicine, which is reversing disease and using natural strategies to do that. And then now it's like, look, that's started to become a crowded sandbox. And so I always go for the next sandbox where no one's there yet, right? I learned from Steve Jobs. He's like, let's go, look around the corner, see, Wayne Gretzky, go where the puck is going, not where it's been, right? So I want to go now to human optimization and biohacking, where I want to work with the Billy Keels. I want to work with the 1%ers out there who their health is good. They've done well, but they want to live to 200. They want to, essentially bulletproof from all disease. They want to, being a granddad, be Olympic weightlifter. Right. That's where I want to take people. Like I'm going to Tanzania in a couple of months to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I just did Pikes Peak just recently. We're doing, Spartans and Tough Mudders. And so what I'm trying to tell people, I guess, is you can do it all, have it all, be it all, but you got to have a plan. You got to envision it. You got to plan it, and then you can only do so much yourself. So I do only what I can do. And then everything else that anyone else can do, I delegate. So I have teams and I have people and I have processes and systems. And then has allowed me to live what I consider sort of this ideal life. Like I get to run 3 passion companies. I get to be there for my kids and my wife. And I get to, do all the things I want to do and give back, while still being healthy and active, which is, again, this is all part of the 5 freedoms technology that I really subscribe to.
And so there's a couple of things, and I love that you've talked about it over and over. And I want the Going Long family to really hear the language that Vikram is talking about. He's talking about how does he spend time with his family and have his passion projects, 3 different passion projects, companies where he's helping high performers. He's continuing to help the triple bottom line. And it's and it's very, very important. And so I know that we're running out of time here, but one of the things I would love for you to hit on just very quickly, you talked about the 5 freedoms. If you have enough time to just give us a very high level view of what that is and how you are also helping people to understand this concept and make it theirs.
Yeah. And, I think we're all chasing freedom. At the beginning, we're chasing freedom to do certain things. And then now I'm sort of chasing freedom from, right? So, as kids, you want independence, and you want to be free, and you want to do what you want, how you want, and when you want. Now I'm chasing a certain different type of freedom. And at the beginning, all successful people want money. I get it. It's important. So financial freedom, but more than that, I want abundance. There's a lot of people who are rich, who are what I call cheap. They're just stingy. They're not free with their life or their money or their time. And so I think financial freedom is the first step. Financial abundance and like living this abundant frequency is the second step. So that's number 1. Number 2 is time freedom. Money without free time is really an illusion. So I want to be able to essentially control my schedule, control when I want to work, when I not want to work. I also want to make sure when I'm working, it doesn't feel like work. So that's time freedom. Next is, exactly what Billy's doing. It's called geographic freedom. And I'm not going to do where I'm relocating my family to Barcelona, but I am going to live.
Why not, man? Come on over.
I'm going to go just down the street, and we're living in probably Tuscany or Rome for a month in July, and COVID permitting. And so we've decided just recently, every year we're going to live, starting with 1 month a year in a different country. And it's just something fun to do. One, because I can do it. It's easy for me. I can work from anywhere. My kids, they'll be in the summers, and eventually if I choose to, I can get them, international tutors and whatever. It's more about creativity versus, possibility. Yeah. So that geographic freedom is great. Time freedom is great. Financial freedom is great. The last 2 freedoms are really a freedom from stress, right? It's like, look, families can get sick on you, divorce, the IRS can come knocking, COVID can come knocking, things that just, so I can't protect myself from that, but I can become, resilient from that. So I want to have a bulletproof mindset where literally whatever comes at me, I can handle it. I breathe through it. I understand it, and I respond versus react.
Yeah.
And what it happens is it just like, I'm okay. I'm okay with whatever comes my way because I know I'm resourceful. I may not have the resources, but I'm resourceful. Yeah. And that this kind of lion mindset I love. And then so the final one is vitality freedom, right? Freedom from disease and freedom toward human optimization. And so that's what I think is there. And really that trifecta, right? Health, money, and time. If you had three, you're unstoppable in this life. So why not go for it, guys? So if you're listening to this going along, listeners, let's go for it. Get the trifecta, and if you want, get the pentagon or the five. Go for all five.
Go for all five. So we've got the 5 freedoms, and we're gonna also have a great way for the Going Long family to connect with you in just a few minutes. The thing is, we have got to get to the Going Long final 3 because we're running out of time. But the thing is, Vikram, I never ask any of our guests the Going Long final 3 unless you tell me, because today you're our special guest, that you're ready for me to ask you. So are you ready?
Oh man, I was born ready. Let's go.
What did I knew you were going to say that? How did I know you were going to say I was born ready? Here we go. So here's the thing. So we started with you over near the nation's capital in near DC. I want to bring it back to this side of the Atlantic, or this side of the pond, as we like to say. I've now been over here for 20 years. What would you help us understand? What is your favorite European city that you've either visited or still on your bucket list to visit? Or maybe it's the place you're going to live with your family sometime soon. What would that city be?
You know what? I love Rome. I love Rome because of the history, the culture, the food, the people. I grew up reading, Greek and Roman mythology, and just to be in that ancient city, with that modern flair, is great.
Yeah, awesome. So I love Rome. It's a fantastic place, eternal. So next of the Going Long final 2, and this is really based on a lot of the things that I've been very fortunate of seeing successful people. And Vikram, I would consider you to be someone who's very successful, someone who's done a lot of different things and positively impacted so many different lives. And one of the things that I've noticed from everyone that is successful is basically the reason that they're successful is because they, unlike most people, get things right the first time, being able to then get to their goals. Did I do that again? I messed that up again. Not really. It's kind of an inside joke with me and the Going Long family. The reality is, here's the reality. The reality is everybody makes mistakes. Hopefully you agree with that. And the thing is that very successful people make a lot more mistakes than most people. The reality is a whole lot more than most people. But the reality is they do one thing very, very differently. And this is no joke. Every single time that there is a learning opportunity, a failure event, a mistake, however you want to call it, especially those that are relevant, every single time the successful people stop, they learn, and then they put tactics and actions in place to minimize the probability of that exact same thing happening again. So what I would love for you to do is share with us, maybe not, I don't want you to share the learning opportunity or the mistake or whatever, but what is the one lesson that you know that the Going Long family needs to hear today to minimize the probability of them making that very relevant mistake in their path to freedom?
There's several ways to success, several ways to get to the top. And trial and error is a great one. I love it, but it's an expensive one. I pay to shorten my learning curve. And so I pay to compress decades into days. I pay to compress time. And so I'm only 43, and I say only because I still feel young. I feel good. I feel ready.
You're young, man. You're great.
And to do all of what I've done in such a a certain amount of time, it requires strategy, tactics, but it also required mentorship and coaching and literally, if I want to do something right now, like I want to learn Krav Maga or I want to learn Muay Thai, I'm going to get one of the top guys in my city to come and train me. And in 6 months, I may achieve what most people take 2 years to achieve. So I want to learn multifamily. Fine. That's why I'm on my 4th multifamily coach, right? Why do I still need a coach? I'm about to approach $1 billion because I want to get to 2 billion or 5 billion. Let's go. Love it.
Love it.
Whatever you need, pay for that expertise and not only pay for it, but then execute and implement.
Act. Yes. Love that. Absolutely love that. And this is just one of the things I love that Going Long Family. Listen, he just said, collapse decades into days and don't be afraid to make sure that you're investing in yourself. There is nothing that will give you a higher return. Absolutely love that. So I want to get into the Going Long Final Three, the third of the Going Long Final Three. And this is really about feeding our brain. You have talked about a number of books. You've talked about being a voracious reader, listener with your Audible. And I would love for you to share, what is the one book that you would love to share with the Going Long family today?
This one is something I guarantee you most of your listeners have never heard of. And I'm proud to introduce a book to them. And it's called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. And Naval is a venture capitalist. He started Angels List, e-Opinions, and a few other things. He's based out of Silicon Valley, but he's become sort of a modern day philosopher. Mm-hmm. And he's figured out how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise, and healthy, wealthy, and happy. So he drops one-liners that are just amazing. Like I've reread the book about four times already, and I probably need to reread it another 40 times. It's that good. And it's a quick one. You can probably do it in a weekend or 2 weekends. But I'll give you another one he drops in there. He goes like, meditation is intermittent fasting for the brain. I'm like, boom.
Nice.
And I was like, these kind of little 1 or 2 liners, they're so good. And so this guy just he compiled all of this guy's wisdom, which is mainly he dispenses on Twitter into a book. Okay. So guys, get the book, listen to it, savor it, marinate it a little bit, contemplate it, and then make it your own.
Love it. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. We're going to make sure that we include that in the show notes as well. And I cannot believe how quickly these conversations go by. I mean, this has flown by. And I'm just thinking from the very beginning, you're talking about being born in southern India, in Bangalore. Then from there, your father's an engineer and you're moved around different places and you're in different states and you realize like, hey, listen, life events were happening to you, family members, issues with the heart. You knew that you wanted to focus on a specific area in medicine to be able to save people, to be able to make an impact. And then you went to cardiology initially. After that, then you were actually in the right place at the right time and being able to help to save and to be able to attend to your father, which is something that also made a major impact. But then also too, that you've got this like inside of you, you want to be able to touch different things and become a master of different things. You went into the paper assets and you went into other different investing opportunities and you came into real estate, something that you understood, something that you also not only wanted to understand, that you wanted to go deeper in. You talked to your spouse about it and she said, hey, look, you can do that, but hey, you're going to make sure that you're not going to put our family in any negative space. And so that forced you to be creative. And through that creativity, you've not only been able to generate the lifestyle that you want to for yourself, for your family. You're spending your time as you'd like. Not only are you continuing to invest in real estate, you're continuing to help. You're speaking, you're sharing on an international platform, your experience, you're helping to coach high performers. And you're continuing to take it to the next level. I even love the fact that you're talking about taking your family to live in a different place, a different country, a different city 1 month out of the year. I think that's absolutely awesome. And you've really given us a lot of actionable items that the Going Long family can take away. You've talked about the different companies that you are running and that you are leading. And I know that there's so many people from the Going Long family who are thinking, wow, I've definitely got to get in touch with Dr. Vikram Raya. Like, how do I do that? He's got a number of different companies. So help us understand, what is the best way for the Going Long family to get in touch with you, find out more about you and your companies as well?
Thank you, Billy. Great recap. Love that. VikramRaya.com, VikramRaya.com is like my main website. There's a ton of free resources on there. So for your listeners, there's a lot. I have an ebook there that's phenomenal. So please, take advantage of that. If you want to connect with me directly, linkwithvik.com will take me to. You can DM me on LinkedIn with that. So that's linkwithvik.com. Those are the two best ways.
All right. Fantastic. And Dr. Vikram Raya, appreciate that. And listen, Going Long family, I am going to ask you one thing, because you all know I'm a stickler for this. When you reach out to him on LinkedIn specifically, make sure that you send him a personalized note and let him know that you listen to him here on the Going Long podcast. It is going to make your conversation so much easier, so much smoother to continue the conversation between the two of you. So it's the only thing that I ask, at least in that, just so that everybody knows, the Going Long family, we make personalized connections. So, wow, Dr. Vikram Raya, I really, really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for investing your time with me and with the entire Going Long family and sharing your experiences today. Thank you so very much.
No, thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Just 2 seconds for the Going Long family. Going to make this fast. Going Long family. Wow, this was just an amazing conversation. I know you have so many different things that you can take away today, put into place, put into action, and definitely reach out to Vikram. He's made it really easy for you to do that. So I know that I'm looking forward to welcoming you back for the very next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very, very much. Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.